All right, guys, first off, as always, good day. Glad you guys are here. So here's the thing. I do apologize for this video being a little late, but here it is, all right? So this video is about as you can see, the wages and things like that for the average American. So look at this warm up, look at it, foreground, background, left to right, up and down, everything like that. And there's going to be some questions for you. The first one, of course, is what do you see? So go ahead and write that down. The second question is what do you think this artist is trying to say about this particular situation? Okay, so go ahead, write that down. Pause the video, and we're going to be starting the notes in three, two, one. All right, so here's the thing. The civilian labor force is basically anyone from the age of 16 and older who are looking for a job or who has a job. Now, if you're 15, you're like, I want a job, you don't count. The other thing is, if you're like 20 something and you say, oh, I need to get a job, but you're not actually applying for jobs, you're not going out for them, things like that, um, then you are not really considered part of the civilian labor force. You're just talk. Okay, these are people who actually look, sorry, excuse me, looking for jobs. Okay, those people are part of the civilian labor force. Now, as of about 2016 or so, there are about 140 million people who fall into this category. Okay, now people in prison, they don't count as this. People who are in the military, they don't count. And other institutions. So basically, like somebody who's like crazy and they're in a nut house type of thing, um, they wouldn't be counted. Okay. Now, the thing is, you have to understand, workers have been trying to organize. I mean, for the longest time, workers have been feeling like they're being taken advantage of, things like that. And a lot of times, they didn't organize or go against the top people because they never felt that they can win. They always felt that the odds were against them, so why bother? Um, so in this country, in the United States, the first workers that tried to organize, it began in 1778, and they were mainly painters. Okay, and the thing is, they realized, we're not getting paid that well, and these people who want us to paint things, they would try to say, oh well, this person will do the job for $10. Could you do it for 8? And then they go to the other, well, this person said they could do it for $8. Can you do 6? And so they're trying to find the lower price. Well, the thing is, you keep doing that, that person who's going to be painting, they're going to be losing money. They're not going to be actually make any money, you know. So they basically united and said, you know what, we demand higher pay. This is the bottom salary. This is the bottom amount that we'll work for. Okay. And since then, unions began to form for things like shoemakers, carpenters, tailors, things like that. And they basically negotiated with the people who were hiring them for better hours, better pay, better working conditions. Now, that picture you see to the right, that is a picture of kids working in the coal mines. Okay. And a lot of those kids got this thing called black lung, where the coal that they break into pieces, the little itty bitty pieces of it in the air, they would inhale it and it'd be in their lungs. Now, if you don't know, your lung is basically like a sponge, so there's like little holes there for the air to get through. Um, these coal particles would get in there and like clog it up. And so when they try to cough, sometimes these kids just cough up basically coal. Okay, so it was bad stuff. All right, so before the Civil War, a majority of the workforce basically were farmers. They were small business owners and basically self-employed people. They took care of themselves, like you know, uh, blacksmiths and things like that. However, after the Civil War, a lot of factories started popping up, and the factory industry grew. Now, the thing is, new jobs, more jobs, that attracts people who don't have jobs in other countries or can't find jobs in other places. So they're going to come to the United States. Okay. Thing is, business people love immigrants, believe it or not. As much as they talk about people, like, oh, they're undocumented and this and that, they're taking our jobs. Thing is, there are some jobs that citizens will not take because they feel that it's beneath them. And that's where a lot of immigrants come in and they do those jobs for cheap, because again, a lot of them are unskilled jobs. Um, and the thing is, people feel that like uh, unskilled labor is a threat to wages and labor standards. So in other words, like because you got a bunch of these immigrant people that all of a sudden these companies are not going to be caring about how the work conditions are, how much they're paying the people, which there is a case of that. A lot of times companies see immigrants and are like, you know what, these guys will work for $2 an hour. So let's see if we can get them to pay them $2 an hour. All right. Now this is gonna be more likely on your quiz. The first trade slash craft union that was formed were the cigar makers. Okay. Now, I don't know, I doubt you guys ever really seen a cigar, but the thing is, they're rolled up very tight. And the thing is, it's not very tight, then it's not gonna smoke that well and things like that. Because it's loose, it's gonna break apart. But the tighter they are, the better they are. And the thing is, it takes a skill to do that, because not everyone can just pick it up and do it. It takes some skill. You have to know how to roll it and tightly and things like that. Same thing with like welding. You just can't pick up, welding. Just get a stick and go, okay, let's weld. Do you know how it works? Do you know what the rod you're using is the right type of metal for what you're using? How are the amps and things like that using that? So that takes some skill, and it's where skilled laborers are that they can get a union. Because the thing is, you can't learn this stuff just off the back. Okay. Now, the industry unions were created by unskilled laborers because they felt, just because we're not skilled doesn't mean that you know, we're worthy of being taken advantage of. Nobody should be taken advantage of. So they're like, we need to form our own unions, and that's what they did. All right, so here is your midpoint question. What are some advantages and disadvantages to being a skilled worker? And what are some advantages and disadvantages to being an unskilled worker? So there are the writing prompts right there. Think about it. Okay, so each side has their own advantages, and each side there's some disadvantage. So think about it, come up with your answer. Okay, pause the video, and notes are going to start in three, two, one. All right. So now here's the thing. Unions try to help workers negotiate for better terms. Again, working conditions, hours, things like that. Um, the best way that they found out for workers to hurt companies is to go on strike. Now, when workers aren't working, the companies lose money. Okay, so you have to think they bought product that is not being sold now. They're wasting electricity, things like that. If they have a building that's not theirs, they're leasing it, so they're losing money with that. Um, so yeah, the company's losing money left and right. Usually, workers will picket, which is that picture up on top. They'll picket outside the place, the factory, the industry, the store, and basically try to prevent business from going in. And they try to bring also public awareness to what's happening and why they're out there. Okay. Uh, Sometimes the owners, they're not the managers, they're just the owners. And so what happens is sometimes the managers and the workers are not getting along. There's some feuding going on. So sometimes the owners will say, okay, you know what? I'm going to lock down this place. You guys solve this issue, okay? Because we're not having this, okay? So you guys figure it out because no one's getting paid until you guys do. Some companies actually create their own unions. All right. So instead of having some outsider company saying, hey, you know what? These other companies that we represent, their workers get this much sick time, this much vacation days, and they get paid this much, and their work conditions are like this. So there's no outside influence coming into their company. So they let somebody basically start their own union inside their company, and that way they don't know what other companies are doing and things like that. All right, so here's the thing. Historically, the courts have ruled in favor of the companies actually over the unions. Okay, so a lot of times these uh, companies were seen as like, you're trying to disrupt business. You're un-American because you don't care about America's businesses and you want America to fail. So that's the thing that some of these unions were facing early on. The Sherman Antitrust Act was even used at one point against the unions. Okay, now in 1902, the United Hatters Union called for a strike against this one hat manufacturer in Danbury, Connecticut. What happened was the unions went to these stores in Danbury and said, you know what? You should really stop buying those hats because they treat their people like this. They only get paid this much. And here's the thing: who buys your hats? That's right, not those owners. It's the workers. So if you're buying the hats and who's making the money? The top people, not the workers. So then they can't afford to buy your hats. So do us a favor, don't buy those hats. So stores didn't. But what happened was right away, the company sued the union, and the courts ruled in favor of the company, saying that the unions created an illegal boycott and restricted trade in a sense. So, with that being said, um, labor unions got hit hard. And so sometimes these companies would say, okay, we're going to you give the workers a 2 cent raise and they'll get an extra day off for a whole year. And the unions be like, well, that's not fair. And they said, well, then let's go to court then. Once the unions heard that, they knew this was the best offer they're going to get and they would accept it. Because again, they didn't want to go to court. So here is your last question. Why do you think that the courts don't really support the unions? Why do you think they just like shun them to the side? All right. And also, what could be some possible reasons why you think they wouldn't rule in their favor? Why would they rule in favor of companies and not the people? Okay. So that's it. That's the end of this video. So hopefully you learned something new. And don't forget, make sure your name's on the paper. Make sure when you come into class, you actually turn into the basket to the side, right next to the door. Okay. And that's it. All right. So you guys have a good day. Take care and be safe.